Hello and welcome to the Turf and Touchdowns podcast, episode number 12. We are back after neglecting our NFL side of things. We apologise for that, but we are here. We are talking all things NFL this week once again. And since we last talked about American football, Tom, the weather's got a lot hotter and we've got a lot nearer to the season as well. So excitement's building.
Yeah, I literally cannot wait until that first Sunday, 6 p.m. Actually, 5:59 p.m. when you start to see the intro titles to Red Zone. I'd say that's probably my happy place, when you start to see and hear Red Zone come on the TV and then Scott Hansen welcomes you in. I feel like that's the best moment of the year right there. So we're not that far away, actually. I don't know how many weeks. It must be 9-10 weeks now.
Yeah. Well, last year, right, this is a real sad story. And we went out as a family day, lovely family day on the first Sunday of NFL action, and we got caught in so much traffic coming back.
Oh, man.
Like I was in the car, and I wasn't quite crying, but my partner Jasmine goes, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, it's fine. Just football started, and I'm looking forward to it all year, but it's fine. I'll get over it." But yeah. This year there will be no traffic. We're going to be fine. But we thought we'd have a look forward towards the 2024-2025 season. We're going to put up two of our best bets of the upcoming season. We've also got a few things in the pipeline as well regarding the NFL side of things, a few special guests that we're going to be bringing on ahead of the season. So make sure you are subscribed to us on the Turf and Touchdowns YouTube or Spotify page, however you are listening/watching us. We're also over on social medias at Turf Touchdowns on Twitter and X. Same thing. Same thing. And every other social media at Turf and Touchdowns. I just hate the new name. I hate X.
I feel like you've got a plump for either Twitter or X rather than both. Yeah. I'm sticking with Twitter. It's the one.
But whichever one, you're wrong, because if you go Twitter, it's not the actual name.
That is true.
Like, oh, he's just being old school. And if you go for X, it's like, what an idiot. Like, no one calls it that.
Yeah, I think I'd rather be old school than an idiot, I have to say.
It's like when Robbie Anderson changed his name to Chosen.
Well, no, that is just idiot. There is no option of anything there. If you call him Chosen Anderson, then you're an idiot.
I want to be called Chosen Luke. Right, let's move.
That's not how it works, mate. He replaced his first name, not double-barreled it.
Yeah, all right. I'll work something out for next week. We will move on to our best bets. We've both, to be fair, we've not compared notes, but we've both picked out one bet that's a bit shorter in price and one that's a little bit more of a longer shot, while still being pretty realistic. We will kick things off. I will start, because I want to play a bit of a game with you, because I've told you half of my bet, but I've not told you the full bet.
Correct.
So it's Bijan Robinson, going to have a monster year. I like Bijan Robinson to go over his line on rushing touchdowns. Now, it's even money. I've not told you what the line is. Last year, he had 4 rushing touchdowns. It was a bit of a joke, to be quite frank, and the whole team, the whole offense was just run ridiculously. They've come out this year, and even Bijan Robinson has said, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be used like Christian McCaffrey's used in San Francisco. That is incredible. And if he's used like that, he could literally be maybe even fantasy number 1 for the year. But what's the line that I'm going over?
Like when people say, I went to the shop and it was a sale and I got this incredible bargain on this t-shirt. Guess how much? And then someone says £4 and they're like, oh no, actually it was 12.
Yeah, you've ruined that immediately. You did that on one of our earlier podcasts. Like, oh, right.
I did. I'm tempted to do it here as well, but no, I'll give you a realistic guess. I promise you I haven't seen the line, so I'm very interested here because I am a fan of Bijan, and exactly what you're saying could happen this year. He could really explode. He got 4 rushing touchdowns last year. 5.5?
What a jerk. It's 6.5.
Is it? That's fair.
5.5 would be ridiculous. But yeah. I'm not going to go too low. I'll go lower.
I was guessing realistic because otherwise I was thinking, why would you put him up if it couldn't be too high because that's a little bit more of a gamble. 5.5, 6.5 seems fair.
6.5 seems ridiculously low. And I'll tell you for why. Because last year, Tyler Algier, how many rushing touchdowns did Tyler Algier have compared to Bijan Robinson's 4?
I promise you, I can't remember, but it would have been 5 or 6, maybe.
Well, he had 4 as well.
Okay, 4.
To have the same amount is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Let's continue playing our game. How many carries inside the red zone did Bijan Robinson have in the whole of last season?
25.
In the red zone, RB1 taken very early on in the NFL draft. You go
25.
25. 5.
5.
5
Okay, that is crazy.
in the entirety of last year. 5. To get 4 touchdowns on the
Yeah.
ground with that is ridiculous. New coaching staff have come in. Seemingly, they've got half a brain. Arthur Smith has been shipped off to Pittsburgh, where he can go do his stuff as offensive coordinator. If they use Bijan Robinson properly, Bijan Robinson, he could. I hate the term break fantasy because it's rubbish, but he could be the next guy to do essentially that. Over 6.5 at even money, I think is the only way it doesn't happen for me is if he gets injured. And when you're sort of factoring in these bets, unless you're going for the under, it's very hard to factor in injuries. And also, Bijan Robinson, he's not been that sort of guy who's sort of got injured in the past. I love Bijan Robinson over 6.5 touchdowns. I think even money is a very good bet. I like Atlanta as a whole. To be fair, I think most people do this year. I think they're going to be a very good team, regardless of if Kirk Cousins is able to play, regardless of if Michael Penix, who's now signed his rookie contract, sorry, Michael, comes in. Then I think that is going to be a very good team all round. That's my first bet of the year. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like it. I know your second bet, and I'm not as much of a fan of that one, but I'm definitely a fan of this one. I agree with everything you've said. Bijan's going to be a monster. If he doesn't get 7 rushing touchdowns this year, it's either going to be injury or he's just, I don't know what's happened to him, because it's got to just be injury. This guy's got so much talent. He'll be the guy that's getting the most target share at the team. And yeah, especially if Michael Penix comes in and plays QB, they're going to be going to Bijan literally 50 to 60% of the plays, I imagine, on offense, at least for the first couple of games. And yeah, it looks certain that he's going to enter pay dirt quite a few times.
Yeah, and he gets to play the Panthers quite a bit next year as well, which
There's
that is
that.
a big positive.
Yeah.
But Tom, give me your shorter priced one.
Yeah, similar kind of market that I've looked at, just an over or under on total yards, but this time I'm going with a wide receiver, and it's Zay Flowers in the 2024-25 season to record over 875.5 receiving yards throughout the course of the year. Now, I would advise getting on this bet if you want to follow me in with Betfair or Paddy Power, because they're set the line the lowest at 875.5. That's 5 to 6 if you're going to back him over. If you go to someone like Bet365, there are other firms available, then their line is 950 and you're getting 4 to 6 on the over. So the value is definitely with Betfair and Paddy Power at the moment of recording. I just feel like that line's way too low. 950 is a lot more accurate for him. He's a guy who could easily top 1,000 yards this year. He's wide receiver 1 at Baltimore. Bit of a spoiler alert for my later selection. I think Baltimore are going to do very well this season. Lamar Jackson, a fantastic all-round offense, 2 tight ends, proper tight ends as well. It's probably top 10 tight ends. Jim Harbaugh coaching. They've got pretty weak division, in my opinion. It just looks like they're going to win a lot of games. And to win a lot of games, you need to get a lot of yards. They're obviously going to do that on the ground with Derrick Henry and Lamar. But at the same time, you've got to go through the air. And Zay Flowers is going to be the man. Last year, in his rookie season, 858 receiving yards. And there was a couple of games that he had where he had maybe 2 yards, 19 yards, 25. I feel like he's going to be way more consistent this year, probably averaging 8 to 10 targets a game. And if he does that, there is no way the jackknife is not going to get over 875.5 yards. 5 to 6, in my opinion, is a very fair price for that line.
Yeah, I think the line that the lower that you read out was 875.
Yeah, 875.5.
That is a bit too low. It's not so low where I'd be rushing in thinking, wow, this is value. This is definitely going to land. The one thing I don't like about Zay Flowers is that he gets a lot of short under targets that are going to go 5 yards in the air, and then it's up to him what he does afterwards. He's also got Mark Andrews to compete with, which he didn't have for a large part of the back end of last season, which is largely when he came good. He did have Isaiah Likely, but I think Isaiah Likely is a very different tight end to Mark Andrews. Isaiah Likely, not that Mark Andrews isn't, but he's an athletic tight end, and he was basically a cheat code because he was a wide receiver playing in the tight end position. I like Zay Flowers as a player. I'm just wondering how much work he's going to get in high yardage possibilities. He's the sort of guy he could easily take a 5 yard pass to the house
Yeah,
from any part of the field, and that's a positive. That's the guy you love to have on your side in these sorts of bets. But his heavy usage did come at the back end of last year. I mean, he had a big game against the Chargers, who were just dreadful. He had a big game against the Rams, who you could score on. The Niners were in there as well. The Dolphins were in there also. So I get the reasoning. I'm just not a massive Zay Flowers guy.
I can understand it for sure. He was only his rookie season last year. You know, he's going to improve from that, and he only needs to find 18 yards on last season's total. Okay, granted, he was healthy for the most part of the year. He only suffered a minor injury, I think, around week 12. But he played virtually every game, if not every game. In the postseason, he exploded, and it feels like he's just going to carry on that momentum this year. In my opinion, Zay Flowers is 2 times as good as Hollywood Brown when Hollywood Brown was at Baltimore, and Hollywood Brown topped 1,000 yards. He's a very similar player as well. You know, agile, great route runner, smallish, but able to really rack up yards after catch. So I think Zay is a guy where depends how they use him, but I think they're going to use him in a multitude of ways. They're obviously going to use the short routes, the 5 yards in, 5 yards outs, hitches, etc. But I feel like if they need to win, if they need to get lots of yardage in a short period of time, why not send Zay on a go? Why not put him on a post? He could do what Hollywood Brown does. He could do what Tyreek Hill does for Miami. I think he's going to get a lot more of a target share. I'm not going to say he's going to rack up Tyreek Hill kind of numbers, but I think he'll top 1,000, and therefore this line, in my opinion, is way too low.
Do you want to know one thing that will strike fear into your heart?
Go on.
Rashad Bateman got a new deal.
Rashad Bateman will never, ever strike fear into my heart, I'm afraid. The guy drops everything.
He got a good deal, though. It's like 3 years.
Well,
But
have you seen the rest of their wide receivers?
Well, literally the rest, everything that's been coming out of camp has been, oh, Bateman looks good. It's like, yeah,
it was the same last year.
Literally every year, it's like Bateman looks good. It's like, okay, sure, do it on the field.
Yeah, he spends half his time in the injury room, and the rest of the time dropping balls.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't watch it.
That is Zay Flowers. Well, we're going to stick with you because we're going to roll on to the next one. It's a natural progression, but you like Zay Flowers to go somewhere he didn't last year.
Yeah, my second best bet for the 2024-25 NFL season is the Baltimore Ravens to win Super Bowl 59. Now, before I give you my reasoning, I do want to say I've had a loyalty bet on the Packers as well. I do think they'll have a good year, but as a Packers fan, I don't know how much of my decision there is heart over head.
That's so Packers fan.
It is
unreal.
No, but our team is decent this year.
You're the second Packers fan, right? To send the first one sent me an actual screenshot of his bet of I think Packers at like 16s or something like
16,
that.
Yeah,
it's just like,
mine's more of a saver. I'm going to have a decent bet on the Ravens, and as I say, I'll explain in a second. But if they don't go on to win, and the Packers do, and for example, if it's Ravens v Packers in the Super Bowl, and I'm not on the Packers, I'll be fuming. So I have to have that bit of comfort, you know. Also, I'm sorry, that's very rich from you, the guy who backs the Seahawks every single year.
Not this year. I did bet us when we won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Many moons ago now. Last year, I was just betting on us to make the playoffs, and we should have done. We had a horrible coaching staff. Love Pete Carroll, but things were not good in Seattle last year. And screw you for bringing that up. I'm not over it. Talk about your thing.
Yeah, so the Ravens to win Super Bowl 59 is my second best play this season, outright antepost. The AFC North consists of obviously 4 teams, the Ravens being one, the Browns and the Steelers, who I think are going to suck this year. I imagine they're going to end up with negative win-loss ratios.
Mike Tomlin standing in your way there.
Yeah,
he's never done it. He's never done it.
Stuff that record. The team's not good enough. It's going to be a losing record at the end of the year. And then you've got the Bengals, who are obviously a great team, and I know you really liked them this year to go at least close when it comes to the playoffs, but they just don't have depth. If Joe Burrow gets injured, they've got Jake Browning. Now, Jake Browning came in last year and he was okay, but he's no Joe Burrow. If Jamar Chase goes down, they have a couple of receivers and they have some depth with like Trenton Irwin, etc. But if Jamar Chase goes down, they're kind of in trouble out wide. They've also lost Joe Mixon. Now they're relying on Zach Moss, who was a backup at the Colts, and Chase Brown, who was a backup at the Bengals. I don't love that situation. And their defense isn't great. So I think the Ravens are going to win the AFC North, which is a huge positive when you're betting a team to win the Super Bowl. That should allow them to get into the playoffs and get, hopefully, a first round bye. That's the plan. Now, their schedule is super light as well. I don't know if you've had a look at it, but
Hmm.
they've got the Chiefs in week one. Okay, fair enough. They may lose that game. They may win that game. It's week one. Doesn't matter. You go through the rest of their season. I can't really see too many stumbling blocks in there. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to win every game, but they should win the majority. And as I say, that should put them at least number 1 or 2 seed in the AFC, in my opinion. Last year, they crashed out in the conference round to the Chiefs. It was a great game, 17-10. There wasn't much in it between the two teams. The Chiefs obviously went on to do very well in the postseason. They've added Derrick Henry, which is a massive positive. They've got rid of J.K. Dobbins. They've got rid of Gus Edwards. These guys are just injured all the time. They're good running backs, but they're injured all the time. Give Derek the ball. With Jim Harbaugh coaching, Derek's going to get the ball a lot. And when Derek gets the ball, he runs over defenses. Doesn't matter which team it is. You've got Lamar Jackson's speed angle with the read option. I mean, he's going to be a huge player this year, not only just passing the ball, but on the ground. And then you have Zay Flowers, who I've already talked about. Then you have Mark Andrews. Then you have Isaiah Likely. And you've got a fantastic defense, which lacks Patrick Queen this year. He's gone to the Steelers. But you've got a new corner in Nate Wiggins. I feel like they've got everything. And around 10-1 for Super Bowl 59, I think the Ravens are very fair. If I'm being honest, I thought they'd be second favourite in this market behind the 49ers. Obviously, there's a bit of bias towards the Chiefs. They're 11-2 joints with the 49ers right now. But I think the Ravens have a better chance than the Chiefs, to be honest.
You know who else the Ravens lost on defense?
Go on.
Mike McDonald. I think that's going to be a big thing. I don't think that the Ravens defense is going to be as good as in recent years. To be fair, they've been absolutely outstanding. So
Yeah.
it's not something you can go above and beyond with. I, I I just don't think they're going to be as good as they should be this year. I take your point about Lamar Jackson, and I almost mentioned that regarding Zay Flowers. Lamar Jackson, he's lost weight this year, which for me, that kind of says Derrick Henry is going to be our goal line guy. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, but like they're saying nothing crazy. But it's saying that I'm going to take off and run a lot more in the green zone. I sort of, if we've got the ball at the halfway with 3rd and 5, I'm running and I'm going to take off. That's what that tells me.
Do you remember Lamar? I'm sure you do. You remember Lamar in his first couple of seasons when he became
Yeah,
starting QB? He
yeah, it's
would take
ridiculous.
off and it's virtually impossible to tackle. Last year, he didn't really do it, did he?
I, I don't think he could.
Maybe
Everyone
not.
got hurt around him. That they desperately needed him to be healthy, and at times he wasn't. I mean, in recent years, you've seen Tyler Huntley come in, and Huntley did a good job at times, but
Yeah.
he's no Lamar Jackson. But I get where you're coming from with the Ravens side of things. I think the Bengals are going to be good. I'm not sure the Ravens even take their division, but the Bengals are okay, and that's going to lead me into my second bet because I like Jamar Chase, as does everyone else. But I think Jamar Chase will lead the league in receiving yards this year, and he's currently 11-1 to do that. I think that is a very, very good bet. Look, Jamar Chase, we know how good he is. He's been brilliant for years. But things have gone wrong for the Bengals in a few of those years as well. Joe Burrow's and Joe Burrow's just one of him. Joe Burrow in 2020 played 10 games. He's clearly had an issue with staying healthy. Last year, from the get go, it was just a car crash in Cincinnati. In preseason, before preseason even came about, Joe Burrow hurt his calf, and we're being told it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. He's going to be fine. He came back and he started playing the season. It was a big deal. He couldn't throw, he couldn't plant his leg, and it was just an absolute nightmare. T. Higgins, I don't know if he didn't get a target in week one, but fantasy points wise, anyway, he goose egged, and then he bounced back in week two. It was just a really, really poor time for anyone Bengals. Now, Jamar Chase, he's also had a few issues himself, fitness wise, but he did well with what he had last year. Jake Browning was throwing at him for the majority of the season. Things, they were just ugly in Cincinnati. He managed to get 100 receptions last year, and he went just over 1,200 yards. That's not bad going with what you were being dealt with. In his rookie season, he went 1,455. And you mentioned about the Ravens having a a fairly easy schedule. The good thing about the Ravens having an easy schedule is that the Bengals have got an easy schedule as well. They play the same people effectively. They start off in week one with the Patriots. Jamar Chase is going to beat up the Patriots and just whoop them in week one. Gets the Chiefs in week two. Do you know who loves playing the Chiefs?
Jamar
Jamar
Chase.
Chase. Jamar Chase loves playing the Chiefs. The Commanders. He's then got the Panthers. After week four, he could literally be 600 plus yards, 700 plus yards. He then plays the Ravens, but he's also got, you throw in the Giants, you throw in the Browns, the Eagles, whatever, Raiders, Chargers. He's also got to play Steelers. Obviously, he plays twice. He's got the Broncos. He's got the Browns. He's got the Titans. He's got the Cowboys, which could just be a total shootout. I can just see this year being the year that Jamar Chase goes absolutely crazy. I know they added more depth in a wide receiver when they brought in Jermaine Burton. I see that more as a long-term prospect because T. Higgins, he's due to get a new deal or a contract extension, whatever happens after this year. So he's playing for his contract, which could be viewed as a negative towards Jamar Chase. But I don't fully buy into that sort of stuff. T. Higgins has been a fantastic player and he's going to continue to be. T. Higgins also gets hurt a lot, which can at times leave Jamar Chase as the guy. I think at 11-1, Jamar Chase is going to go absolutely crazy this year. You take into account a few of the other guys, Tyreek Hill. Tyreek got hurt last year on more than one occasion. He played through it. Obviously, he wanted to go on that quest for 2,000, but in doing so, he almost broke himself. And I kind of feel that Dolphins might want him to be more of a reserved guy going into this year. And we want to win a Super Bowl. Yes, that target is cool and everything. It would be great to have it on board, but we'd rather take a Super Bowl. CeeDee Lamb was very good last year, but CeeDee Lamb only broke out halfway through the season. It wasn't an entire year of CeeDee Lamb. I would like to see him go and do that. And again, I know they've built around him again, but I don't know. I'm not fully in on CeeDee Lamb being this massive, massive guy. He's going to be a fantastic receiver, yes, but in fantasy drafts, he's going sort of top 3, top 4, which in cases ahead of Jamar Chase, which I'm not fully on board with. I just think that 2024, Tom, is the year of Jamar Chase.
I don't fully disagree. I think the price is very fair, and it's not like you're going for a very short price here. 11-1 is a very fair price on a player that we know is one of the elites in the league. My theory is he's going to be in the top 3 or 4, but I just don't know whether CeeDee Lamb may top him, whether Justin Jefferson, okay, the QB situation is not good in Minnesota. They're probably not going to do great this year, but whether Justin Jefferson may top him. What about Amon-Ra St. Brown? What about Marvin Harrison Jr. coming in? What are your thoughts there?
Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm not sure. I'm not convinced about him as a yardage guy. I can see him topping the league in receptions because he gets a lot of sort of crossing routes that aren't worth a great deal regards to receiving options. But I just think Jamar Chase is more valuable. The one thing that CeeDee Lamb's got that Jamar Chase doesn't is that CeeDee Lamb is the standout 100% guy. Yeah. I mean, Brandon Cooks is his number 2. Brandon Cooks is a very, very good receiver. We've seen it year in, year out. He's 31 now. If CeeDee Lamb had T. Higgins on the other side, it would be a negative for CeeDee Lamb. So yes, Jamar Chase has to overcome that, but we know that Jamar Chase is good enough to overcome it. One thing I do like as well, and this is completely by the by, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, they just got that connection. They've had it since college. I mean, they're friends, very, very good friends. I don't know if I'm going to say BFFs off the field, but they were going to NBA games the other day. That they go out together. They've just got that natural rapport. I love that when you see that in quarterback to receivers. I mean, Matt Stafford, when he got to LA, him and Cooper Kupp used to have breakfast together, and they used to get in early so they could spend a bit more time together. I loved that, and it translates on the field. I know it's something that you sort of push aside and it's cute and whatever, but it works.
Yeah, it's a very similar case. I'm not to bring up the Packers again, as I always usually do, but a very similar case with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams as well. They had that connection off the field. So, no, I get it. I think it's a very fair price, and I think it's a decent bet. Whether it's highly likely to happen, maybe, but you're getting some value in the odds anyway. I feel like it'd be you get a good run for your money, as we like to say in horse racing, with that play.
Yeah. Last year, Tyreek Hill led the league in just under 1,800, 1,799. CeeDee Lamb was 1,000. Yeah. Well, CeeDee Lamb was only 50 behind, 1,749. Then you had a bit of a leap back to Amon-Ra, Puka, and AJ Brown. But I'm a big fan of Jamar Chase for this year. That concludes podcast number, whatever it is, for the NFL side of things. We are going to be more frequent on this side of things. Obviously, we are beginning to build up towards the season. The closer we get to the season as well, we will be bringing more guests on to this show, and also we will be doing a few more things sort of from a betting standpoint further down the line. It's going to be more focused on that rather than fantasy, but we will incorporate the two of them. And as I say, we will have the Listener League coming in as well. But make sure you are subscribed to us. If you like horse racing, go check out our horse racing podcast as well. This week, we covered Grade 1 action over at Churchill Downs. But Tom, as regards to NFL we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, see you in 2 weeks. Hopefully, when we come back to this in maybe February, March time, we'll be able to, tell everyone the success we've had.
Yeah, I look forward to looking back at it and go, why do we both wear hats? But it's the middle of summer. It's the middle of summer. We need haircuts. But thank you guys for listening to this NFL podcast. I say NFL back in 2 weeks. We'll be back next week with horse racing on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. Until we next get the privilege of speaking to you guys, stay safe, look after another. Goodbye.